Tonight we journey back to a pivotal moment in history when two great worlds collided. Rome, the rising empire of the West, met Greece, the ancient cradle of Eastern culture. This encounter was more than a meeting of armies. It was a clash of civilizations, ideas, and destinies that would shape the course of history for centuries to come. Imagine standing in a bustling marketplace in Athens, the city still echoing with the wisdom of philosophers like Socrates and Plato. The air is thick with the aroma of olives and fresh bread, and around you, artisans craft their timeless works. Yet, beyond the city's vibrant life, the winds of change are stirring. From the west, Rome, once a small city-state, has grown into a powerful force, its legions marching farther than ever before, hungry for influence and control. As Rome's shadow spreads across the Mediterranean, the ancient Greek city-states find themselves at a crossroads. Will they maintain their proud independence, or will they be swept into a new order? Under Roman rule, this story is not just about wars and battles. It is about culture, survival, and transformation. It is about how two worlds, so different yet intertwined, struggled, clashed, and ultimately shaped each other in profound ways. Throughout this video, we will explore the dramatic events that marked this encounter, from diplomatic tensions and fierce battles to moments of cultural exchange that endured long after the last sword was sheathed. We will walk through the lives of those who witnessed these times, feeling their hopes, fears, and resilience. If you love diving into stories from history that go beyond dates and facts, stories that bring the past alive, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us keep uncovering fascinating tales like this one, bringing history to life in a way that is engaging and insightful. So settle in, relax, and let us step together into the ancient world, where Rome and Greece met, a world where empires rose and fell, but ideas and culture endured. This is the story of how Rome conquered Greece, and how two great civilizations forever changed the course of human history. The uneasy calm that once lingered between Rome and the Greek world began to unravel quietly, almost imperceptibly, but with consequences that would ripple across the entire region. It all started around the coastal region of Styria, a place known for its bustling ports and lively markets, where merchants traded olives, figs, and fine wine under the warm Mediterranean sun. Yet beneath this vibrant surface, shadows of conflict were beginning to gather. Raids on Greek merchant ships became more frequent. Whispers of unrest and banditry passed from tavern to tavern, and a sense of foreboding crept into the hearts of those who called Styria home. These skirmishes were not random acts of piracy or mere local disturbances. They were the sparks of a much larger struggle for control and influence in the eastern Mediterranean. Political tensions, fueled by old rivalries and new ambitions, escalated as factions within Styria and its neighboring regions vied for power. The delicate balance that had allowed Greek city-states to navigate the turbulent waters of regional politics for centuries was beginning to crack. At the center of this storm was the mysterious death of a Roman envoy, an event that sent shockwaves far beyond the borders of Styria. The envoy's assassination was rumored to be orchestrated by none other than Queen Tut herself, a figure shrouded in intrigue and ambition. Rome, a rising power with an insatiable appetite for expansion, saw this not only as a personal affront, but as a challenge to its authority and prestige. The death of the envoy was more than a diplomatic crisis. It was a declaration that Rome could not ignore. In response, the Senate in Rome wasted no time, mobilizing a formidable force of 22,000 men and 200 ships to cross the Adriatic and confront the growing threat. This was a significant moment, marking the first time Rome had deployed such a large army so far from its heartland. The sheer scale of the operation reflected the gravity with which Rome viewed the situation. Back in the Greek world, news of Rome's impending arrival caused ripples of fear, curiosity, and speculation. In Athens and other city-states, conversations buzzed with rumors and theories. Some saw Rome as a potential ally against local rivals, Others feared that Roman intervention would mean the loss of their cherished independence. The political landscape was complicated, with the ever-watchful King Philip V of Macedon quietly assessing the situation, weighing Rome's moves against his own ambitions. The tension between these ancient powers was palpable, and the stage was set for a conflict that would reshape the region's destiny. Amidst the rising turmoil, everyday life in the Greek city-states continued in its usual rhythm, though with an undercurrent of uncertainty. Merchants whispered about disrupted trade routes, farmers worried about increased taxes and conscription, and philosophers debated the fate of their beloved polis. In the taverns, old men recounted tales of past glories and warned of coming storms, while the young listened with a mix of skepticism and hope. The world they knew was on the brink of irreversible change. As Rome's legions landed and began their campaign, the initial skirmishes around Iria served as a grim reminder that this was no ordinary war. It was a clash not only of armies but of cultures, values, and visions for the future. The brutal reality of siege and battle contrasted sharply with the rich traditions of Greek democracy and philosophy. Rome's disciplined legions, armed with the latest military innovations and bound by unyielding loyalty, pushed forward relentlessly. Greek city-states found themselves caught in a difficult position, torn between resistance and accommodation. Yet even in the darkest moments, pockets of resilience and defiance emerged. Stories of local heroes, cunning diplomats, and ordinary citizens who refused to yield remind us that history is shaped not just by great empires but by the people who live through their upheavals. These skirmishes around Iria were the opening act in a long drama, one that would see alliances formed and broken, betrayals and acts of bravery, and ultimately the transformation of a world caught between the fading light of an ancient era and the dawn of a new imperial age. As we follow these events, it becomes clear that the conflict was about more than land or power. It was a struggle over identity and survival. The Greek world, with its deep cultural roots and proud traditions, faced a formidable challenge from a Rome that sought to unify and control a vast and diverse territory. The tensions that sparked in Iria would escalate into full-scale wars that tested the limits of diplomacy and warfare, setting the stage for Rome's eventual dominance and the enduring legacy of Greco-Roman civilization. In the midst of these turbulent times, the echoes of olive groves and ancient temples stood as silent witnesses to a changing world. The story of Iria is a tale of how small conflicts can ignite great transformations, reminding us that history is not only made by kings and generals, but also by the complex and often fragile interactions of people and places caught in the tides of power. It is a story that invites us to reflect on the costs of ambition and the enduring strength of culture, themes that resonate even today. So as we continue this journey through history, keep in mind the significance of these early skirmishes, the seeds from which empires grow, and the crossroads where civilizations meet. If you find this tale as fascinating as I do, do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring these stories alive and ensures we can keep exploring the rich tapestry of our shared past together. Stay with me as we uncover how these initial conflicts around Iria became the first chapter in Rome's conquest of Greece, a story filled with drama, struggle, and the unyielding spirit of a world on the edge of transformation. The decision by Rome to send a massive military force across the Adriatic Sea was nothing short of extraordinary. For a republic that had long focused on consolidating power within the Italian peninsula, this marked a bold leap into a new era of expansion and influence. The sheer scale of the deployment, 22,000 legionaries aboard 200 ships, reflected Rome's determination not merely to respond to a localized conflict, but to assert its dominance over the broader Mediterranean world. This was an unprecedented projection of power far beyond Rome's traditional borders, a clear message that the city was no longer content to be a regional player, but was ready to stake its claim on the wider stage of history. As the Roman fleet set sail, the mood in the city was a mixture of anticipation and resolve. Senators debated the risks and rewards, generals prepared their troops, and ordinary citizens watched with a mixture of pride and apprehension. The Mediterranean, once a barrier separating cultures and peoples, was fast becoming a Roman highway, a conduit for armies, ideas, and ambitions. The crossing itself was a remarkable logistical feat, showcasing Rome's growing mastery not only of land warfare, but also of naval power. Ships packed with well-trained soldiers, equipment, and supplies made their way across the waves, each vessel a floating testament to Rome's rising might. Upon landing, the legionaries faced a complex and unfamiliar landscape. The rugged coasts and fortified cities of Greece presented challenges that Rome's commanders had to overcome with strategy and discipline. Yet the legions advanced steadily, their tight formations and relentless training giving them an edge over less organized opponents. It was clear that this campaign was not a mere raid or punitive expedition, but a carefully planned effort to reshape the political landscape of the region. The impact of Rome's military arrival rippled through Greek society. City-states that had long operated with a degree of independence found themselves confronted with a power that could no longer be ignored or bargained with. Alliances shifted rapidly as some Greek leaders chose to side with Rome, hoping to preserve their own positions, while others prepared to resist what they saw as foreign domination. The balance of power that had characterized the eastern Mediterranean for centuries was suddenly in flux, with Rome's legions at its center. This large-scale deployment also had profound symbolic meaning. It demonstrated Rome's ambition to control not just territory, but the fate of entire peoples and cultures. The image of Roman soldiers disembarking on foreign shores resonated across the ancient world as a sign of change and inevitability. It marked the beginning of a new chapter, where Rome would no longer simply react to events beyond its borders, but would shape them proactively. At the same time, the campaign underscored the complexities of imperial expansion. Roman commanders had to navigate not only battles, but also diplomacy, local customs, and the intricate web of Greek politics. Winning hearts and minds was as important as winning battles, and the legions found themselves engaged in more than just warfare. They became agents of a new order, enforcing laws, collecting taxes, and sometimes clashing with the very people they sought to govern. As the campaign progressed, the success of Rome's forces served to solidify the Republic's reputation as a formidable military power. The logistical prowess, tactical innovation, and sheer determination displayed during this crossing and subsequent battle sent a clear warning to other powers in the Mediterranean. Rome was a force that would not be denied. For the Greek world, this signaled a dramatic shift. The era of city-states and shifting alliances was giving way to the rise of a centralized imperial authority that would shape the future of the region for centuries. Reflecting on this moment, it is evident that the crossing of the Adriatic was more than a military maneuver. It was a turning point in the story of Rome's transformation from a regional power into a Mediterranean empire. It set in motion a chain of events that would lead to the gradual incorporation of Greece into Rome's expanding realm, a process marked by conflict, negotiation, and cultural exchange. The legionaries who landed on those distant shores were the vanguard of a new age, carrying with them not only the tools of war, but the seeds of a complex and enduring legacy. This chapter of history invites us to consider the nature of power and ambition, the challenges of crossing boundaries, both physical and cultural, and the ways in which societies adapt to sweeping change. It also reminds us that the story of Rome's expansion is not just about conquest, but about transformation of landscapes, of peoples, and of civilizations themselves. If you find this unfolding story as captivating as I do, please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more journeys into the past. Together, we will continue to explore how the bold actions of Rome's legions across the Adriatic reshaped the ancient world, weaving a narrative that still echoes in the foundations of modern culture and history. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the dramatic campaigns and cultural shifts that followed this historic crossing. As Rome's mighty legions pressed deeper into the Greek world, the struggle for dominance found its fiercest challenge in the kingdom of Macedon. ruled first by King Philip V and later by his son, Perseus. These were rulers of ambition and strategy, determined to preserve Macedon's influence amid the shifting tides of power that Rome's relentless advance threatened to sweep away. The conflict that unfolded was not just a series of battles. It was a clash between two visions for the future of Greece, one rooted in tradition and regional authority, the other in the unstoppable force of Roman expansion. King Philip V, a shrewd and seasoned leader, recognized the danger Rome posed early on. His reign was marked by efforts to consolidate his power, forge alliances with other Greek states, and resist the creeping influence of the Roman Republic. Yet, despite his tactical acumen and political savvy, Philip's forces were no match for Rome's well-trained legions and strategic resources. The wars that ensued between Rome and Macedon were fierce and brutal, with cities besieged, armies clashing on rugged terrain, and entire regions caught in the turmoil of shifting allegiances. Rome's victory over Philip marked a turning point, not just militarily but symbolically. It was a clear signal to all of Greece that the old order was crumbling and a new power was taking its place. The Senate in Rome celebrated this triumph with proclamations of freedom for the Greek cities that had long chafed under Macedonian dominance. Yet this freedom was tempered by the reality of Rome's growing control. Macedon's influence waned as Roman governors and officials began to exert authority across the region, slowly but inexorably weaving Greece into the fabric of the Roman world. Philip's death did not end the conflict. His son Perseus inherited the throne and the unresolved tensions between Macedon and Rome. Perseus, like his father, was determined to resist Roman encroachment and restore Macedonian power. However, his efforts were met with increasing hostility and suspicion from Rome, which viewed Macedon as a persistent threat to its ambitions. The renewed hostilities culminated in what is known as the Third Macedonian War, a brutal contest that would seal the fate of Macedon once and for all. The decisive moment came at the Battle of Pydna, where Roman legions, under the command of General Lucius Aemilius Paulus, confronted Perseus's army in a fight that would become legendary for its tactical brilliance and devastating outcome. The Roman soldiers, disciplined and flexible, exploited the rigid Macedonian phalanx formations, turning what seemed to be a stalemate into a crushing defeat for Perseus. The battle not only broke the military strength of Macedon, but shattered its political will to continue resisting Rome's expanding power. Following this victory, Rome took unprecedented steps to ensure that Macedon would never again threaten its dominance. The kingdom was divided into smaller territories, stripped of its former power and autonomy. The once mighty Macedonian monarchy was dissolved, and the region was gradually absorbed into the growing Roman provincial system. This restructuring was more than a military conquest. It was a deliberate effort to erase the old centers of resistance and integrate the Greek world into Rome's political and administrative framework. Yet, even as Macedon fell, the cultural and historical legacy of the region endured. Macedon had been a cradle of Hellenistic civilization, home to the legacy of Alexander the Great, and a beacon of Greek influence in the wider world. Its defeat marked the end of an era, but it also set the stage for a new synthesis, where Roman governance blended with Greek culture to create a unique and lasting heritage. The wars with Philip V and Perseus illustrate the complexity of Rome's expansion. Far from a simple story of conquest, it was a process marked by fierce resistance, strategic adaptation, and profound transformation. These conflicts reshaped the political map of Greece, diminished the power of traditional rulers, and paved the way for the emergence of Roman authority throughout the region. As the dust settled on the battlefields and the echoes of clashing swords faded, a new reality emerged, one where Greek cities, once independent and proud, found themselves under the watchful eye of Rome. Yet, in this new order, Greek culture did not disappear. Rather, it found new life within the structures of the Roman Empire, influencing art, philosophy, and governance for centuries to come. This chapter in history invites us to reflect on how power shifts and empires rise and fall, but culture and identity often endure in unexpected ways. The struggles between Rome and Macedon remind us that history is rarely a simple tale, but a tapestry woven from conflict, resilience, and the enduring spirit of those who live through change. If you are captivated by these dramatic stories of ancient power struggles and their lasting impact, please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Join me as we continue to explore the fascinating intersections of history, culture, and empire that define our shared past. Stay tuned for more insights into how the legacy of Macedon and Rome continues to echo through time. In the wake of Rome's decisive victories over Macedon and other rivals, the Roman Senate made a bold proclamation that echoed across the ancient Greek world. The freedom of several Greek city-states was to be restored. This declaration was met with jubilation by many Greeks who had long endured foreign domination, and for a moment it seemed as though the ancient dream of autonomy and self-rule might finally be within reach. Cities like Corinth, Thessaly, and others were heralded as free peoples, released from the burdens of tribute and foreign garrisons. The air was thick with hope and celebration as citizens gathered in agoras and temples, imagining a return to the days when their cities thrived under their own laws and traditions. Yet, beneath this veneer of liberation lay a complex and far more controlled reality. Rome's proclamations of freedom were carefully crafted political tools designed to secure loyalty and stabilize a region that was essential to Rome's broader imperial ambitions. The idea of freedom in this context was nuanced. It was freedom within the framework of Roman supremacy. The city-states were indeed relieved from direct Macedonian control, but they were now bound by Roman influence, obligations, and interests. Rome exercised its dominance not through overt conquest alone, but through subtler means alliances, treaties, and the placement of friendly officials and client rulers who ensured that Roman policies were enforced. For many Greeks, this new arrangement was a bittersweet reality. On one hand, the visible signs of foreign occupation soldiers in their streets, taxes levied by distant governors, seemed to recede. On the other hand, the shadow of Rome loomed larger than ever, dictating the terms of peace, commerce, and governance. Local assemblies still met, and laws were still debated, but these activities unfolded under the watchful eye of Roman representatives, who held the real power. The freedom they celebrated was, in many ways, an illusion. Autonomy was carefully balanced against loyalty to Rome, and any hint of dissent was swiftly and firmly dealt with. This duality created a complex political landscape where Greek pride and tradition coexisted uneasily with the practical realities of Roman rule. Some city-states embraced the arrangement, seeing cooperation with Rome as a means to preserve their cultural heritage and improve their economic prospects. Others harbored quiet resentment, dreaming of a time when true independence might be restored. Diplomatic envoys traveled between Rome and the Greek cities, negotiating terms and seeking favor, while local leaders navigated the delicate line between appeasing their Roman overlords and satisfying their citizens. The proclamation of freedom also served as a powerful propaganda tool for Rome, both at home and abroad. It painted the Republic as a liberator rather than a conqueror, a benevolent force bringing order and peace to a fragmented region. This image helped to legitimize Roman expansion and placate potential critics within and beyond the Senate chambers. The idea that Rome was granting freedom, not imposing domination, softened the perception of imperialism and masked the realities of control and subjugation that accompanied it. Despite these complexities, Greek culture and political life did not vanish under Roman rule. The city-states retained many of their institutions, festivals, and philosophical traditions. Local elites adapted to the new order, sometimes even thriving by collaborating with Roman authorities. This period saw a remarkable cultural synthesis, where Roman law and governance blended with Greek art, philosophy, and civic identity. The freedom proclaimed by Rome was paradoxically both a limitation and an opportunity. a framework that allowed Greek traditions to survive while reshaping them within a new imperial context. As time passed, the initial celebrations faded into the daily realities of governance and control. The promise of freedom became a cautionary tale about the nature of power and empire. The Greek cities, once proud centers of independent thought and democracy, became part of a vast system where true autonomy was rare. Yet, in this new order, the seeds of resilience were planted, and the legacy of Greek civilization continued to influence the Roman world and beyond. The story of Rome's proclamations of freedom teaches us about the complexities of conquest and control, where the language of liberty can sometimes conceal the reality of domination. It reminds us that history is rarely black and white, but full of shades and contradictions, where hope and pragmatism intertwine in the lives of those caught in the tides of change. If you find these intricate tales of power and politics as fascinating as I do, please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Together we will continue to unravel the rich and nuanced history of ancient civilizations and the forces that shaped them. Stay with me as we explore the next chapters in this epic story of Rome and Greece, where freedom and control dance in a delicate and enduring balance. The destruction of Corinth stands as one of the most poignant and dramatic moments, marking the definitive end of Greek political independence and resistance to Roman rule. It was not just the fall of a city, but the collapse of a symbol, a proud and prosperous polis whose influence had once rippled throughout the Greek world. Corinth, renowned for its wealth, culture, and strategic location, had long been a jewel of Greece, a crossroads of trade and ideas. Yet, in the brutal theater of Roman expansion, it became the tragic stage upon which the final act of Greek autonomy was played out. As the tides of war swept across Greece, Rome's patience for dissent and rebellion grew thin. The city of Corinth, aligned against Rome during the conflicts, found itself under the harsh spotlight of Roman military might. The Roman consul Lucius Mummius led the campaign that would end in the city's siege and eventual destruction, a decision fueled by a desire not only to punish, but also to send a powerful message to all those who might dare oppose Rome. The siege itself was a grim affair, marked by relentless pressure on the city's defenses and the suffering of its inhabitants. As Roman forces breached the walls, the city's fate was sealed. When Corinth fell, Rome's actions were unequivocal and severe. The city was razed to the ground, its homes, temples, and public buildings reduced to rubble. Survivors were sold into slavery, families torn apart, and centuries of history seemingly erased in an instant. This was no mere military conquest. It was a calculated act of dominance, meant to extinguish any flicker of rebellion, and to assert Rome's unchallenged authority over Greece. The devastation was so complete that Corinth ceased to exist as a political entity for over a century, a haunting reminder of the costs of resistance. Yet, the destruction of Corinth also marked a turning point in the relationship between Greece and Rome. With the obliteration of such a significant city, the illusion of Greek independence was shattered once and for all. Rome moved swiftly to reorganize the region under its direct control, establishing the province of Achaia and installing Roman governors who answered to the Senate and later the emperors. Greek city-states were integrated into the imperial system, their ancient political freedoms replaced by administrative oversight and Roman law. Despite this harsh transformation, the cultural and intellectual spirit of Greece endured, even flourished under Roman patronage. The legacy of philosophers, artists, and architects continued to inspire not only Romans, but also future generations across the empire. Corinth itself was eventually rebuilt, but its rebirth was under the auspices of Roman authority, reflecting a new era where Greek culture became an integral part of the wider Roman world rather than a force opposed to it. The story of Corinth's fall is a powerful chapter in the saga of Rome's rise and Greece's transformation. It reminds us that the path of empire is often paved with destruction and loss, but also with adaptation and renewal. The city's ruins stand as silent witnesses to the complex interplay between power and culture, conquest and identity. They speak to the resilience of human spirit in the face of overwhelming change. and the enduring influence of a civilization that, though conquered, never truly disappeared. This episode invites us to reflect on the nature of political power, the cost of resistance, and the ways in which history remembers those who fall, as well as those who conquer. It is a story that resonates beyond its ancient setting, offering lessons on ambition, resilience, and the intertwined destinies of empires and the peoples they rule. If you are intrigued by this dramatic and transformative moment in history, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Join me as we continue to explore the deep and often turbulent connections between Rome and Greece, uncovering the stories behind the ruins and the legacies that still shape our world today. Stay tuned for more fascinating insights into how the echoes of ancient conflicts continue to inform our understanding of power, culture, and identity. With the fall of Corinth and the suppression of resistance, Greece's fate was sealed as it transitioned from a land of fiercely independent city-states to a province under the direct control of Rome. This transformation marked the end of Greek political autonomy and the beginning of a new chapter in which Roman governance and administration shaped the destiny of the region. The province of Achaia was established, encompassing much of southern Greece and parts of the Peloponnese, serving as a tangible symbol of Rome's expanding imperial reach and the absorption of Greece into the vast machinery of the Roman Empire. The creation of Achaia was more than a simple administrative reorganization. It represented a profound shift in power and identity for the Greek people. Gone were the days when local assemblies debated laws and decisions were made within the walls of ancient agoras. Instead, Roman officials appointed by the Senate or later the emperor governed the province, wielding authority backed by the might of the empire. These governors were responsible for maintaining order, collecting taxes, and ensuring the loyalty of the Greek cities to Rome. Their presence was a constant reminder that Greece was no longer a collection of independent states, but an integrated part of a sprawling imperial system. This new governance structure brought both challenges and changes. On one hand, Roman rule introduced stability and infrastructure improvements. Roads were built or repaired, harbors maintained, and communication networks expanded, linking Greece more closely to other parts of the empire. Economic activity often increased under Roman oversight, with Greek cities becoming hubs of trade and culture within the imperial framework. On the other hand, the imposition of foreign rule disrupted traditional political life and social hierarchies. The power that once rested with local aristocrats and councils was now subject to Roman authority, altering centuries-old dynamics and forcing adaptation. Culturally, this period was a paradox. While political independence vanished, Greek culture did not disappear. Instead, it became a treasured component of Roman identity. The Romans admired and emulated Greek art, philosophy, religion, and literature, seeing themselves as heirs to Greek civilization, even as they asserted political dominance. Public buildings in Greek cities were often refurbished with Roman architectural styles, and festivals continued under Roman sanction, blending traditions and reinforcing a shared cultural heritage. Greek intellectuals and teachers traveled throughout the empire, influencing Roman elites and helping to preserve the Hellenistic legacy. Life for ordinary Greeks in Achaia became a balancing act between preserving their traditions and navigating the realities of Roman administration. While some embraced the opportunities that came with integration into the empire, access to broader markets, protection under Roman law, others mourned the loss of self-rule and the gradual erosion of their civic identities. Tax burdens increased, and military levies called many Greek men to serve in distant Roman campaigns, binding their lives ever closer to the fate of the empire. The establishment of Achaia also reflected the broader Roman strategy of provincial management, asserting control, while allowing a degree of local autonomy in cultural and social affairs, as long as loyalty to Rome was maintained. This approach helped to pacify potentially restive populations and ensured the smooth flow of resources and manpower essential for the empire's survival and expansion. The transition from independent Greece to Roman province was neither instantaneous nor uncontested. Resistance flared at times, and old loyalties did not vanish overnight. Yet the gradual integration of Greece into Rome's imperial system was inexorable. Over decades and centuries, the province of Achaia became a microcosm of the Roman Empire itself, a land where Greek heritage and Roman power intertwined, creating a complex and enduring legacy. Reflecting on this transformation, we see how empire reshapes not only borders and governments, but also identities and cultures. Greece under Roman rule was no longer the same world that had given birth to democracy and philosophy, yet its spirit lived on, influencing the very empire that had absorbed it. This story of loss and adaptation invites us to consider how societies endure through change, how power is negotiated, and how history carries forward through cycles of conquest and renewal. If you are fascinated by the profound changes that swept through ancient Greece during this pivotal period, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Together, we will continue to explore the layered histories of empires and civilizations, revealing how the echoes of the past shape our present and future. Stay tuned for more stories that illuminate the complex tapestry of human history and the enduring legacy of Greece within the Roman world. Though Greece had fallen under the firm grip of Roman political control, the story of its culture, philosophy, and arts during this era tells a tale not of extinction, but of remarkable survival and even flourishing under Roman patronage. The transition from independence to provincial status did not extinguish the rich heritage of Hellenic civilization. Instead, it entered a new phase where Greek intellectual and artistic traditions found unexpected vitality within the expansive Roman world. This cultural renaissance under Roman auspices created a legacy that would echo through the ages, shaping the foundations of Western civilization. From the marble ruins of once sovereign city-states rose a renewed cultural landscape, energized by the Romans' profound admiration for all things Greek. Rome, while militarily dominant, looked to Greece as the fountainhead of wisdom, art, and philosophy. Greek tutors educated Roman elites. Greek sculptors crafted masterpieces that adorned imperial villas, and Greek ideas formed the backbone of Roman education and public life. Far from seeing Greek culture as a threat, the Romans embraced it as a vital component of their identity, a source of legitimacy and prestige that enhanced the grandeur of their empire. Philosophy, in particular, thrived during this period. Schools of thought, such as Stoicism and Neoplatonism, gained prominence, blending Greek philosophical inquiry with Roman practical concerns about governance, ethics, and personal conduct. Figures like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, deeply influenced by Greek teachings, embodied this fusion of Greek wisdom and Roman leadership. Greek philosophers found audiences not only in the cities of the former Greek world, but also throughout Rome and its provinces, advising emperors and shaping policies. Artistic expression blossomed as well, with Roman patrons commissioning works that celebrated Greek styles and motifs while infusing them with new life. Temples, theaters, and public buildings were constructed or restored, often combining Greek architectural principles with Roman engineering innovations. This synthesis reflected the complex relationship between conqueror and conquered, a melding of power and culture, discipline and beauty. The Greek language itself remained a lingua franca in the Eastern Mediterranean, facilitating communication and preserving literary traditions that might otherwise have been lost. The survival of Greek culture under Roman rule also owed much to local elites who adapted to the new order. Wealthy families, scholars, and artists navigated the changing political landscape by cultivating Roman favor while championing Greek heritage. Their patronage sustained schools, libraries, and cultural institutions, ensuring that Greek traditions remained vibrant centers of learning and creativity. Festivals and religious ceremonies continued, often taking on new dimensions as they merged Greek customs with Roman imperial cult practices, creating a shared cultural space that bound diverse peoples within the empire. Yet, this flourishing was not without its tensions. The very act of survival demanded compromise and reinvention. Greek identity was reshaped by Roman expectations and imperial realities. The autonomy of city-states was curtailed, and Greek institutions operated under the watchful eye of Roman officials. Still, the enduring power of Greek culture lies in its ability to adapt, to persist, even when political freedom was lost. This cultural resilience became a cornerstone of the Roman world's strength and helped to preserve knowledge through turbulent centuries. Looking back, we see that the Roman embrace of Greek culture was more than mere admiration. It was a strategic alliance that enriched both civilizations. Greek art and philosophy elevated Roman society, while Roman patronage provided the resources and stability necessary for Greek traditions to endure. This partnership laid the groundwork for the Renaissance many centuries later, and continues to influence modern thought, art, and governance. This chapter in history reminds us that culture can survive conquest, and sometimes even flourish because of it. It challenges us to consider how ideas, art, and knowledge transcend political boundaries and time, carrying forward the essence of a civilization long after its political structures have changed. The story of Greece under Rome is a testament to the enduring human spirit and the transformative power of cultural exchange. If you find this fascinating journey into the resilience of Greek culture and its lasting influence compelling, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Join me as we continue to explore the deep connections between ancient civilizations and the legacies they left behind. Stay tuned for more stories that reveal how culture and history intertwine across the centuries, shaping the world we live in today. In the bustling streets of ancient Athens, where marble columns cast long shadows over sun-dappled courtyards, and the echoes of philosophical debate filled the air, lived individuals whose lives embodied the complex interplay between Greek tradition and Roman rule. Through their stories, we glimpse the subtle blending of cultures and the underlying tensions that shaped this pivotal era. These were not just historical figures, but living testaments to a world in transition where identity, loyalty, and legacy were continually negotiated. Consider Nicander, a master sculptor whose workshop lay near the Agora, the heart of Athenian civic life. His hands, worn from years of carving marble, crafted statues that captured the grace of Greek athleticism while incorporating subtle Roman symbols, a reflection of the duality that defined his existence. Nicander's art was both homage and adaptation, a way to preserve Greek aesthetic. Even as Roman patrons commissioned works that celebrated imperial virtues. Each chisel stroke was a negotiation between honoring his heritage and serving the new rulers. His sculptures adorned public buildings and temples, blending Greek mythology with Roman imperial imagery, creating a visual dialogue between two great cultures. Nicander's daily life was a careful balance of pride and pragmatism. He revered the traditions of his ancestors, often visiting the ruins of classical temples and attending philosophical lectures that spoke of democracy and virtue. Yet he understood that survival required accommodation. The Roman officials who frequented his workshop were not merely clients, they were gatekeepers to opportunity and security. Through them, Nicander's work reached beyond Athens, displayed in villas across the empire, spreading Greek artistry under the banner of Rome. His story is one of adaptation, where cultural identity was preserved through creative synthesis rather than resistance. Across the city, another figure shaped the intellectual landscape: Callimachus, an aging philosopher whose silver beard and sharp eyes belied a mind still vibrant with inquiry. As a teacher in the Stoas, he lectured on the philosophies of Plato and Aristotle, weaving lessons that resonated with the challenges of living under Roman dominion. For Callimachus, the arrival of Rome was not merely a political event, but a profound cultural transformation. He grappled with questions of freedom, virtue, and governance, reflecting on how Greek ideals could persist in a world now dominated by foreign power. Callimachus's students came from all corners of the empire, drawn by the reputation of Athens as the cradle of wisdom, even as it lay under Roman control. In his lessons, He emphasized the importance of inner freedom and moral integrity concepts that transcended political realities. His philosophy offered a sanctuary, a space where Greeks could find meaning and identity despite their diminished autonomy. Yet, he was not blind to the tensions. He debated with colleagues about the price of Roman patronage, concerned that too close an embrace might dilute the purity of Greek thought. Both Nicander and Callimachus lived lives deeply intertwined with the shifting realities of their time. They witnessed the transformation of Athens from a city-state proud and independent to a provincial capital under Roman governance. Their personal stories reveal how individuals navigated the complexities of empire not through outright rebellion, but through resilience, negotiation, and the blending of identities. Through their crafts and teachings, they maintained a thread of Greek tradition even as they engaged with the imperatives of Roman rule. These vignettes underscore a broader truth about the era. Cultural survival is rarely a matter of simple opposition or submission. Instead, it is a dynamic process where traditions evolve, adapt, and sometimes merge with new influences to create something both familiar and new. The Greek world under Rome was a tapestry woven from the old and the new, the conqueror and the conquered, where individuals like Nicander and Callimachus played vital roles in preserving heritage while shaping the future. Their stories remind us that history is not only made by great battles and sweeping political changes, but also by the everyday lives of those who live through them, artists, philosophers, teachers, and citizens who embody the hopes, fears, and contradictions of their time. In the blending of Greek and Roman elements, we see the seeds of a cultural legacy that would influence not just the Mediterranean, but the entire course of Western civilization. If you are intrigued by these personal glimpses into history and want to discover more about how individuals shaped the complex dance between Greece and Rome, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Together, we will continue exploring the rich human stories behind the grand narratives of empire, culture, and identity. Stay with me for more captivating journeys into the past, where the lives of ordinary people illuminate the extraordinary transformations of history. Under the reign of Emperor Hadrian, the ancient city of Athens experienced a remarkable revival that illustrated the deep and enduring bond between Rome and Greek culture. Hadrian was not just a ruler wielding imperial power. He was a genuine Philhellene, a lover of Greek art, philosophy, and tradition, whose personal passion shaped his policies and left a lasting imprint on the Mediterranean world. His reign marked a high point in the cultural blending that had been unfolding since Rome's conquest of Greece, demonstrating how imperial authority could be wielded to honor and preserve a conquered people's heritage. Hadrian's commitment to Greek culture was evident in his extensive building projects, which transformed Athens into a city that gleamed with renewed grandeur. He commissioned the completion of monumental structures that had long languished unfinished, such as the Temple of Olympian Zeus, a colossal sanctuary that symbolized the city's religious and civic pride. Walking through Athens during Hadrian's time, one could see how these architectural marvels embodied both Greek artistic principles and Roman engineering prowess, a fusion that spoke to the complex identity of the era. The streets echoed with the sounds of construction and celebration, as new theaters, baths, and public spaces rose to life under imperial patronage. But Hadrian's influence extended beyond bricks and mortar. He actively supported cultural events that celebrated Greek heritage, sponsoring festivals, athletic games, and philosophical gatherings that rekindled the spirit of classical Greece. The Panathenaic Games, held in the grand stadiums of Athens, drew athletes and spectators from across the empire. Reviving traditions that connected the past to the present, these public celebrations were more than mere entertainment. They were deliberate acts of cultural diplomacy, reinforcing ties between Rome and Greece and showcasing the empire's respect for its Hellenic roots. Hadrian himself was often present at such events, delivering speeches that praised Athens as the birthplace of civilization and philosophy. His words carried a carefully crafted message, one that acknowledged the superiority of Roman political power, while elevating Greek cultural achievements as the foundation upon which Rome itself was built. This rhetoric served both to legitimize Roman rule and to placate local pride, creating a narrative of mutual respect and shared destiny that helped maintain stability within the province of Achaea. Yet, beneath the surface of these grand gestures lay the realities of imperial control. Hadrian's cultural patronage did not restore Greek political independence. Athens remained firmly under Roman governance. The emperor's investments in culture were intertwined with strategic objectives, strengthening loyalty, fostering peace, and integrating the province more deeply into the imperial system. The lavish monuments and festivals were visible symbols of Rome's power, projecting an image of benevolent rule that both celebrated Greek heritage and asserted Roman supremacy. The legacy of Hadrian's Philhellenism endures in the ruins and records of his reign. His patronage preserved many aspects of Greek culture that might otherwise have faded under centuries of foreign domination. Philosophers continued to teach, artists continued to create, and the spirit of classical Greece remained alive in public life, education, and religious practice. Hadrian's Athens became a cultural beacon, a city where the ancient and imperial worlds met and mingled, producing a rich and lasting heritage that influenced not only the Mediterranean, but also the broader trajectory of Western civilization. Reflecting on Hadrian's reign invites us to consider the complex relationship between power and culture, conquest and preservation. It reminds us that empires are not solely built through military conquest, but also through cultural engagement, investment, and respect for the traditions of the peoples they govern. Hadrian's vision shows how rulers can shape history not only by force, but by fostering the arts, ideas, and identities that endure beyond their own time. If you find this exploration of Emperor Hadrian's role in promoting Greek culture captivating, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Join me as we delve deeper into the fascinating stories of how rulers and cultures intersected in the ancient world, creating legacies that continue to resonate today. Stay tuned for more illuminating journeys through history, where power, culture, and human creativity intertwine in extraordinary ways. The ripples of Rome's internal turmoil reached far beyond the city's marble forums, casting long shadows over distant provinces like Greece, and stirring both uncertainty and hope among its people. The assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BCE, a momentous event that shook the foundations of the Roman Republic, sent shockwaves throughout the empire. For the Greeks, who had long lived under Roman rule, these upheavals kindled fragile hopes that the tide of imperial control might loosen, offering a chance, however slim, for renewed autonomy or even independence. In Athens, the news of Caesar's assassination arrived with a mix of disbelief and cautious optimism. The city, steeped in centuries of philosophical tradition and political debate, became a hub of whispered conversations and intense speculation. Scholars, politicians, and ordinary citizens alike pondered what this seismic shift in Roman leadership would mean for their own future. Would the power struggles in Rome distract the empire enough to allow Greek cities to reclaim a measure of self-determination? Or would the ensuing chaos deepen Rome's grip as factions vied for supremacy? The atmosphere in Athens and other Greek cities was tense, yet charged with possibility. Local elites debated the prospects of aligning with different Roman factions, calculating which side might best serve Greek interests. Some saw in the turmoil a moment to revive ancient ideals of democracy and freedom, while others feared that renewed civil war would bring devastation and increased taxation. The assassination was not merely a distant political crisis. It was a catalyst that forced Greeks to reimagine their place within the empire and consider paths toward asserting their identity amidst imperial fractures. Among the key figures in this period were Greek intellectuals who found themselves navigating a complex political landscape. They engaged in discussions about governance, justice, and loyalty debates rooted in Greek philosophical traditions but now framed by the realities of Roman dominion and civil conflict. These thinkers questioned what it meant to be Greek under Rome and whether cultural resilience could translate into political agency. Their teachings offered solace and guidance, emphasizing the importance of inner freedom and virtue even when external circumstances were tumultuous. Meanwhile, the practical effects of Rome's internal conflicts soon became evident in the provinces. Military garrisons in Greece were put on alert as allegiances shifted and rumors of rebellion circulated. Supply lines faltered amid naval blockades and skirmishes, disrupting trade that Greek merchants depended on. The burdens of war, higher taxes, conscription, and labor demands were felt keenly by ordinary Greeks who bore the cost of imperial strife. Yet within this hardship, seeds of resistance and aspirations for self-rule quietly took root. Some Greek leaders sought alliances with Roman factions opposed to the ruling powers, hoping that by supporting one side they might negotiate concessions or even independence. The complex web of loyalties and betrayals that unfolded across the empire mirrored the intricate politics within Greek cities themselves. The hope for liberation was tempered by pragmatism, as many understood that Rome's military and administrative reach remained formidable despite internal discord. As civil wars raged and power struggles persisted, Greece's strategic position between East and West made it a focal point of imperial contestation. The province became a stage where Roman ambitions, local aspirations, and cultural identities intersected in unpredictable ways. The fragility of peace and the volatility of politics meant that every event in Rome reverberated through Athens' marble streets and Corinth's bustling ports, influencing the daily lives of its inhabitants. Looking back, the period following Caesar's assassination exemplifies how the fate of conquered peoples is often entwined with the fortunes of empires. Greece's experience during Rome's internal conflicts reveals a nuanced narrative, not simply one of domination or submission, but of negotiation, hope, and the persistent yearning for autonomy. The echoes of these events would shape Greek history for generations, reminding us of the enduring impact of imperial power struggles on the lives of ordinary people and the course of cultures. If this exploration of Rome's civil wars and their profound effects on Greece intrigues you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Together, we will continue to uncover the hidden stories behind great historical events and the human experiences that bring history to life. Stay with me for more journeys through time, where power, culture, and hope converge in fascinating and unexpected ways. As we reach the close of our journey through the intertwined histories of Greece and Rome, it becomes clear that their story is far more than a tale of conquest and subjugation. Instead, it is a profound narrative of cultural synthesis, endurance, and transformation that laid the very foundations of what we now recognize as Western civilization. The legacy born from their union transcended political borders and military victories, becoming a timeless source of art, philosophy, governance, and identity that continues to influence our world today. Though Rome emerged as the dominant power, it was deeply shaped by the heritage of Greece. The Romans admired and absorbed Greek philosophy, literature, and art, weaving these elements into the fabric of their own society. This cultural blending was not a simple borrowing, but a dynamic exchange that redefined both peoples. Greek ideas about democracy, ethics, and the human condition found new expression within Roman law and governance, while Roman organizational skills and infrastructure helped preserve and spread Hellenic culture far beyond its original borders. The magnificent ruins we admire today, from temples and theaters to the writings of philosophers and historians, stand as monuments to this enduring synthesis. They remind us that culture can survive, even when empires rise and fall, that the spirit of a people can persist through adaptation and mutual respect. The fusion of Greek and Roman traditions created a shared heritage that became the cornerstone of the Renaissance centuries later and laid the groundwork for modern democracy, philosophy, and the arts. This enduring legacy teaches us valuable lessons about the power of cultural exchange and resilience. It shows that even in times of political domination and upheaval, ideas and traditions can transcend conflict, evolve, and enrich the human experience. The story of Greece and Rome is a testament to how civilizations can build upon one another, creating something greater than the sum of their parts. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of history's remarkable tapestry. If you enjoyed this journey and want to discover more about the fascinating ways our past shapes the present, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring these stories to life and keeps the dialogue about our shared heritage alive. Wishing you a restful night and sweet dreams as you reflect on the resilience and beauty of human culture. Good night.